Hey, welcome back. Um, it's me, Jacqueline, again. And I'm home and I came straight here, so I'm looking a little disheveled, but I wanted to make sure that I made it here today. So, how are you guys doing? I am fantastic and doing my best to keep up. There's been a lot of information sharing lately, and I feel like that might be holding true for the collective. It's looking that way. I tiptoe into some people's videos, I just kind of click on random ones, just see what's happening, and I'm like, you know what? I think we're pretty much in the same boat. I guess it's that little mini confirmation, but I try not to listen too much because although I know that it's helpful, I do feel like a certain degree of isolation kind of makes the experience a little bit more organic. I was going to say another word. I forget what the word is already, so it's not important. But yeah, I was going to say authentic. But authentic really isn't what we're talking about here. So just to get back into it, eating for your twin flame situation. That's going to be the first part of this video. Not that it's some unknown, mystery or something like that, but, a little adaptation helps, It's like it helps you keep up with the whole mental aspect because you are using a whole lot of brain energy. And when your pineal is happy and pumping and your brain is having those good fats and yummies that it likes, and your body is able to, run well, it just makes the whole situation a little bit easier, but also it invites for more information. And you can look up ways to activate your pineal, but I'll say that once you start walking down that path, which initially is pretty much veganism, if you ask me, you're gonna, accelerate your, I guess, awakening. Sometimes I would call this ascension, but I've recently learned that awakening and ascension are two very different things, along with enlightenment being a very different thing. I started participating with the spiritual community, and I thought, boom, that's it, like everybody is going to be this certain way. But when you're awakened, it doesn't mean that you're ascended or enlightened. In some instances, hardly even aware, and that's cool. But as far as awakening, the food has a big part of it. So just to make that whole situation shorter, research activating your pineal, research eating for your blood type, pay attention to what things are causing like inflammation in your skin, because if it's in your skin, if it's coming through your skin, it's in your organs. So like I'll get eczema from eating too much wheat. So if it's making my skin act all crazy, then most likely my organs are inflamed and not very happy because that wheat is going through them first, So another point to touch on is what I was talking about with awakening versus ascension or enlightenment. Um, with ascension and with ascension, I feel like enlightenment comes, and it's a never-ending journey. And along this path for the individual, it immediately leads to learning about and growth of your partner. And I talk about a lot of the spiritual awakening kind of chakra situation, 5D situations, because these things really aid in your twin flame union. But not only your twin flame union, it helps the collective, judging people starts to diminish. Being anxious starts to diminish. Being critical of yourself, it becomes less of a thing, you basically start questioning yourself and looking deeper within, like, if I am judging this person, what's my issue? And constantly having that dialogue with yourself helps you realize, like, just keep your mouth shut, And I think that little period of nonverbal communication, or that period of silence, is oftentimes that little crack in the window for a nice little gem to float in. I've noticed that also when I don't allow my mind to go to, like, the dark side, like assuming something is wrong, kind of worrying and panic and stuff like that. That's when, like, the quiet, like, reassuring voice usually chimes in. And that's usually something that is necessary at a lot of times, because faith and trust are big deals in this situation, not only in your partner, but like in yourself, and sometimes in humanity. And lately, I feel like with the acceleration and the progress that's been made, a lot of, I'd say, the dark side participants are getting left behind. And I really don't feel like they're liking it very much. And what I mean by that is not only stuff that's like, in and of the spirit realm, which pretty much leads or bleeds into why certain people act cray cray, like, why are you fucking with me? Why are you fucking with everybody? Why is the main thing on your agenda to fuck with people? You're not contributing to this earth. You're not contributing to society. Really, you're just taking away from it. Like, there's some ironing out to do sometimes, I won't say that I have everything right at all, but what I do make a point to try and not do is deliberately tamper with people and fuck with them. That's one thing I try with all my might to stay away from. I'm just going to stay in my little zone, my little corner, and be cool, So you backtrack to those ones. I want to make that conscious effort to, like, get in the way, almost enjoy it. Others that just have no mind to even think that what they're doing isn't cool. and feel entitled for people to, submit to them or tolerate them, all that's starting to burn away. I think that's fantastic. You can see it, people are becoming more intolerant. I feel like the ding dongs of the world are starting to stand out. And, with this big wave of positive energy that's been going on, those people are just getting left behind. There's no more room. There's no more energy to tolerate nonsense, intentional nonsense. If you mess up and you say you're sorry, man, it's all good. Like if you mess up and you didn't know, like that's completely different. I'm talking about repeat offenders times like 100, and with the mind to like think that it's okay. The mind going into it like, I know what I'm doing. Ha ha ha, blah ha ha. Like that. That's the kind of bullshit that's not being tolerated, And I feel like the same thing is happening in our minds. Like in our own minds, we have that kind of situation, angry thoughts towards people, being frustrated with their actions and thinking about how you shouldn't have to tolerate what they're doing. I go through that a lot. I have like the noisiest neighbors like ever, and everything was quiet before they moved in, and I've tried talking to them, Mom is straight up in denial. She doesn't give a fuck. Her son does whatever the fuck he wants. His friends come here when nobody else is here, and I hear them running all around the apartment, opening up the patio like 10 times within like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I'm over here thinking like, I shouldn't have to go through that. I'm not messing with anybody. I'm not, the neighborhood was quiet before they got here. Why are they allowed to be like this? Because I've gone to the property manager. I'm over here like, and the property manager, she's had complaints and she's seen things. Like, it's not just me. So I had this thing going on, like, I shouldn't have to deal with this. But then it became like too much mental clutter. Yeah, someone doesn't give a fuck. And yeah, they're pretty much stepping on my toes. Pretty much stepping on the whole building's toes. They don't care. They don't give a shit. I've heard from them firsthand, And so I tried to turn that around, because that's just one example of how these interferences were creating this mental clutter that ultimately was creating a division between my twin flame and I. I mean, honestly, I would be having like a great meditation, and then all of a sudden I hear like the army come marching in, and it's like the positive mental brain waves, they can't serve two masters. They can't go down two paths at the same time, two different paths, so my mental energy would get refocused, So I did everything that I could to, fight the man. I got some really good noise canceling headphones, and I feel like invincible with them. I wear headphones hell of a lot in my apartment, and sleeping with headphones isn't like the greatest, but finding solutions versus thinking about how pissed off I would get, or being pissed off at all. That was, kind of like a mild example of redirecting the energy away from stuff that's just clutter. And I remember watching a documentary, it's like if your mind is in a mental state, like your mental capacity for this 5D situation, twin flame, cosmic everything situation doesn't quite work, And I've been feeling that very vividly lately. So there's one thing about this video, I would take that, you know. I've also, that's why I don't comment a lot in twin flame groups. You know, that's why I don't read, actually, that's why I don't read hardly any comments anywhere. That's why I don't follow hardly anybody on Facebook. I follow like one person. And, you know, like, I don't, because like, at least with the twin flame group situation, I would notice that there was a lot of like noise, like my situation, this can't be right, and you know, and oh well, you know, and it's just like, where are we going with this? You know, I think it's cool for people who are like just getting started, for them to like look and observe and listen, but then after a certain point, it gets, sometimes in some arenas, it gets to being too much, you know. Ones that feel like they're so far down the path and know so much, they're always commenting and rushing to comment first and always having something to say, always some reaction, and then it gets to this thing, you know, within the community that it's like these people are right and these people are wrong. And maybe I'm doing something like that now, but I found that there wasn't any place that I ever really came encounter with where everything was like neutral, like an agree to disagree kind of situation, or just sharing and listening. You know, I noticed that there was like a onslaught of sharing and sharing. This is my experience, this is me. But there weren't a lot of questions being asked. And, you know, it just turned into a lot of telling people what to do. And, you know, it just was fogging my mind, you know. It wasn't helping anymore. So I found that when people make, you know, basically when, I think it's the comments. I think the comments on the internet have just reached this level of woe in general, because it's not only in the twin flame communities, like, you know, removing yourself from those situations, I think is really a good thing, because it's like eye and mind pollution. Like, you have so many people who have the biggest cojones in comments, and I'm like, dude, if you ever saw any of these people on the street, your ass would be hiding in a dumpster. Just people being shitty and talking about stuff like they know it, and you know, all of that is like mental clutter, because even though you know it's stupidity, even though you know that they're not really like this, it's a non-reality, it still triggers something like a reaction in you. And I'm not so far removed that I don't use anything or look at anything, because I think it's really useful in some occurrences, but I'm pretty far removed, you know, and it's still like, I guess, triggers me. Like, it makes me want to react even though I don't, and I know that I shouldn't bother in most cases. It's just something to take into account, you know, and my twin helped me with that, you know. He encourages me to like read and do things that aren't on like the wavelengths of, you know, the Facebook wavelength, that, you know, basically the top social media outlets, they all have that same kind of feel. It's all kind of going towards that direction. YouTube, even their advertising, Facebook, Google, they all have that same frequency, you know, same kind of photography, same kind of models, same kind of structure. It's become like a monopoly, and I really think that it fucks with people's minds, you know. In some cases, I think it's beneficial, you know, really beneficial, and I think that they could be cool platforms, you know, but I've been on YouTube since YouTube began, you know, and you can see the way I was on MySpace, you know, like you can see the way that Black Planet, I think, and you know, you can just see the way that frequencies are used now, you know. It's kind of deep info, but like I hope that it helps people understand like where I'm coming from with this mental situation, and making room for like the awesome, you know, using what you need to use and participating where you want to participate, going into it knowing what you're signing up for, going through it, being aware of that, and then like coming back out. And then not rowing with the slaves. I call it rowing with the slaves, man. Like, I'm not going to go back over here in this boat and grab that oar, you know, one oar, and be paddling in a fucking circle, you know, like, not going to do that. I'm not going to go, you know, be in the monkey show with you. I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not with it. No matter how stupid or hurtful or offensive that it is, just nah, man. I'm just going to save my energy for like where it'll count in a really good, positive, good feeling way. Don't have any time for the nonsense. And all of you people who are down for the nonsense voluntarily, I'm happy that you guys are getting left behind. There's always room for forgiveness, but there is no tolerance for walking voluntarily into the fire. Sorry, just can't do it. So on that note, I hope that you have an excellent rest of your day, and this really wasn't on my scheduled book of topics, but it's relevant and it's current, so I rolled with it, and I hope that it served you well. And yeah, I'm home where I love to be. And another little quick tidbit is, you know, pay attention to your instances of information, no matter how far-fetched they may seem. Yeah, each one teach one, and listen and learn. And if denial is your first instinct or your first response, then understand that, you know, that's what you do, and try to extend that thought past the denial. You know, if you found in your past, you know, that you learned something and your first instinct is to say, no, it can't be true. That's cool. But learn that about yourself so you can continue the thought process and still be receptive to that information. Be receptive of receiving that information. So that was a biggie. And yeah, that's that. So hope to talk to you soon. And it has been good, and it has been nice and real. So talk soon. Take care in the meanwhile. Bye.